Welcome. My name is Carla Blake, and today is Monday, August 19th, 2024. The interview is being conducted at Gulf Coast Community Foundation, approximately 3 o'clock. The oral history is a part of the Chamber of Commerce Leadership Class of 2024 project, and it's focused on hearing the stories of local and multi-generational businesses. So please state your name and the name of your business and what services you provide.
Thank you. My name is CJ Fishman. I have two or three different companies. The biggest one that most of you remember was Fishman and Associates Inc., which was founded by myself in 1986 and sold in 2018. I currently have a company called CJF Consulting, which is a business consulting firm, business and sales consulting, working with individual sales associates in businesses to help them differentiate themselves from their competitors. I also have another company called the Ravi Store LLC, which is something I've never done before, but we're manufacturing a golf product and we're working on taking that nationally and internationally.
Wonderful, thank you.
Mhm.
When and how did your business begin?
So in 1986, I opened up Fishman Associates here in Venice, Florida. And it's actually Fishman Associates Incorporated. And right when you come over the middle bridge with the Trammell building, which is a two-story building, our first offices were on the second floor. And we started with the company with one other person. So it was myself and one other person. And that's how it began in 1986.
Wonderful, thank you. Um, what about Venice made you start your business here?
Well, I've been in the commercial food service design and equipment company, which is my business or was my business, for a number of years before I moved to Venice. I moved to Venice in 1982. And the reason is we found Venice is my wife's family, like you'll hear this story 1,000 times, had bought a condo down on the Esplanade. And we came down to visit them. And at first I didn't really want to come to Florida because I'd grown up on the East Coast in the summers. And then I ended up coming down here to the West Coast, which I had never been here before. And every time I came, I liked it more and more. And then I kept thinking there's real business opportunities here for a young guy if he's aggressive and wants to work and have an opportunity. And what I like best about Venice is I'm a small town individual anyway. I love the people. I love the access to all physical activity in any sport you wanted to do. And I just thought it was just the West Coast so much different than the East Coast back then. And people were just really friendly and they'd look you in the eye and they'd talk to you and they'd welcome you. Most of the time, everybody had something in common. We all came from somewhere else. So that's why I fell in love with Venice and I thought it was a great location.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Just a reminder to answer the question with the question in your
Thank you
answer.
for sharing that with me.
Okay, it's good. You're doing great. Thank you. Tell me about your background and how you came to live in Venice. You shared a lot of that
Okay.
in the last question.
So, how I came to live in Venice was back in after I graduated college in 1977. We got married and went to work in Columbus, but my family had a restaurant equipment dealership in Cleveland, Ohio, and they had bought a bigger company and they were expanding and they wanted to bring the boys back into the business. So I left retail sales of women's better clothing and moved back and learned the restaurant design and equipment business. But I really liked Cleveland, but I didn't like the weather. And when an opportunity presented itself through some family stuff, I decided if I'm going to go somewhere, I'm going to go warm. And again, if you remember what I said before, I thought the people in Venice were great, the location was great, and I saw business opportunity. So we just packed up. And that was when interest rates were 18% under Jimmy Carter. I had a 6-month-old baby girl, brand new Cadillac. I kept the girl, had to get rid of the Cadillac, and we moved down here and started with half our salary that we were making up there with interest rates 18%. So I'm saying that for a reason because everybody's worried about the interest rates right now. We came when there was 18% and we didn't have anything, but we had the belief in an opportunity.
Thank you.
Hmm.
What is one of your favorite stories from your business?
Well, I was trying to think about that before this interview. I'll tell you what I think was one of the funniest stories is our company grew really fast. We were very blessed. We found a niche and we built a good reputation in that niche. And then TV shows started to expand with cable and everything else. And one of the shows was Restaurant Impossible and or how you can build a restaurant and remodel a restaurant. I forget the names of them in 1 week or something, which is not really feasible. But we actually had a client come in, a potential client, interviewed us, and wanted to know how long it was going to take to do a project, a remodel of their restaurant. And we told them the average time, by the time you do the design and get the permitting and do it and get all the equipment in, would be about 3 months. And they said, "That's ridiculous. I just watched the show last night. They told me they could do it in 1 week." And I said, "Well, anybody tells you they can do it in 1 week and you can't believe what you see on TV also, it's not going to happen." But that was very interesting. And somebody once asked me, "Did you keep the client?" And I said, "No, we didn't keep the client." But they didn't open in 1 week. They opened in about 6 months. So that was kind of an interesting story. It was just hard to believe somebody would believe what TV had to say.
Kind of like that extreme home makeover. Let's do it in.
Same
Yeah,
thing,
yeah.
you go in and all of a sudden you see everybody working 24/7 and they knock it out. You're lucky if you can get people to work, leave alone 24/7. So,
How would you describe yourself as a business leader?
so I would describe myself as a business leader in a couple different ways. I'm strong, I'm confident. Um, I never ask anybody to do something that I wouldn't do myself or I haven't done myself. I lead by example. I also care for the people that work for me or with me, and I'm very loyal to those people. And I think that's really important in leadership. One is you have to show confidence and lead by example, but you also have to sometimes being a leader means you also have to put that aside and you have to have a compassionate side about you. So that's how I would describe myself.
Thank you. Do you have any business traditions?
Well, we always have, most companies have some traditions. One of the big traditions we had in our company over the 36 years that I had it was whenever we would close a big project, I would go out and buy 2 or 3 bottles of Dom Perignon. That's back when you could afford Dom Perignon, even though it was expensive then, and a cheese tray or something like that. And we would meet in the conference room and we would celebrate the success of us getting that project. Another tradition we had at holiday time, we always had a Christmas party like most companies do, but we always went to one of our clients that we had just finished their project. So if you take, for example, most people are going to watch this No Cafe Venice, we did the work there. We ended up having our Christmas party there so that they could all see everybody in the office and people that weren't out in the field could see what we did and feel a part of it. So that's a tradition.
That's awesome. Thank
Excuse
you.
me.
What makes Venice the unique place that your business thrives?
I think the community aspect of it, it's, you know, Venice has grown a lot since I came in 1982. Most people seeing this weren't born in 1982, but when you think back on it, it was a small town charm. It was everybody knew everybody. I can't say it's exactly the same now, and that's okay. But there's still this nucleus, and the chamber's so well respected, and it leads, and it leads by example. And it's always led. Even when I moved here, it was you got to get involved in the chamber and that kind of stuff. So, what makes Venice just unique and the charm of it is the people. It's all about the people and the location. The location's spectacular.
Thank you.
Hmm.
Small town. Just a reminder to answer the question
Oh, okay.
with the question. You're doing great. And
Okay.
thank you. I
Mhm.
appreciate you. What significant events in Venice history do you remember, and how did those events impact your business?
So there were a number of significant events that affected our business. Um, One, and I always believe that there's nothing new in history. It repeats itself in a different form, and it's starting again. There was a group out there that wanted to put a moratorium on all building and stop all growth, and which you cannot do. But they were so fanatical about it, and we had to organize a group to counteract that, and that was a significant challenge. And it was going to be a referendum on voting, since voting is tomorrow. Um, Another significant impact were the recessions. The last big recession was a depression. I don't care what they call it, but we survived that. But that impacted our business. The red tide that came in, not the red tides always impacts business, but when we had the oil issue where the oil leakage and everybody was perceived that all Florida was shut down and everything like that, and it wasn't. But that affected our industry really badly. People didn't come, so they don't eat if they're not here. And then people don't buy equipment if their people aren't eating in their restaurants or do design. So those were big. Um, Hurricanes impacted, or no-name storms or storms, they impact us somewhat, but what they usually do is also pull a community together. So I would not say that that's as significant an impact as some of these other events were.
Thank you. What are you most proud of?
Well, that's a really good question. What am I most proud of? So, if we take it to business, I'm most proud of that I started a company in 1986 with one other associate. We expanded between 10 and 15 people. We did work nationally and internationally, all based out of Venice. And that even when we went through tough times and recessions and everything else, in the 36 years I had the company, I never let anybody go because we couldn't afford to keep them. My philosophy's always been if I hired an employee and I told them I was hiring their family. So I was, again, respectful for that. That's the biggest professional accomplishment, and I'm very proud of that, as well as our reputation, because everybody helped make Fishman Associates uh, have an incredible reputation in the industry. Um, Personally, it's my daughter. I raised a girl. She came at 6 months down here when she was 6 months old. Um, my wife and I raised our daughter. We both got involved in the community. She got involved in the community, went through all the schools, public school system, Sarasota school system. She did great, went on to the University of Florida. She did great there. She went on and has built a career in retailing. She now works in Manhattan in New York in a privately owned $350–400 million company, and she's senior vice president. So married with two young boys and raising them, and couldn't be prouder of her.
Family values.
That comes along with everything.
Of course it is, right? It makes us who we are.
Yeah, family values are important.
What are the big growth opportunities for Venice business life and civic life? And a reminder to.
Yeah, so big opportunities in Venice for growth, both in business and civic and personal life, is no different than it was when I came down here. The opportunities, if you're young and aggressive, and even if you're older and aggressive, the opportunities here are they're just off the charts. You can get involved in anything you want to do. You can get your name out. This area is growing leaps and bounds. There's more demand on different industries, and there's more opportunities than there ever been before to get involved. Even if you want to open up a company and take a chance and find your own niche, it's never been greater than it is now, that opportunity. As far as the civic life opportunity, it's always been here. I'm a big believer, and I'm sure I'll answer this or you'll hear it again and again. I believe in you give back more to the community than you take. That's what made the community a better place to be when you found it. So I'm old-fashioned in that, but civic life, there's Sertoma, Rotary, the YMCA, the Boys and Girls Club, the Salvation Army, the Chamber of Commerce, the United Way, and there's 20 more. I'm giving you some of them that I've served on, and it's been an honor and a pleasure to serve on them. And also, you don't have to just be Venice-based. You can live in Venice, or you can be involved in the community, or you can work down here. But if you're involved in the county, what's good for the county is good for Venice, Sarasota, Welland Park, Northport, everywhere.
Where do you see your business headed in the next 10 years? And what are some big decisions that you might have to make?
So these CJF Consulting, which is what I started after I sold Fishman Associates, is really more about giving back. I do charge for some of the services, but a lot of it is gratis because I've been very blessed and been very fortunate. So that question's not really as relevant to me as it might be some other people that are really into the heart of their business. I see myself always working, always trying to make a difference. The pace that I work at may be a little less than it used to be. And I kind of like that because I fulfill my days, but I get a lot of time to give back and still do a lot of things in the community. And then also work in my company as hard as I want to work in it. So in the next 10 years, if I have my health, I may be doing this interview with you again. I don't really know.
I would love that. Thank you. How has the chamber impacted your business?
So when I opened my company in 1986, the first day, within the first 2 hours, there was a gentleman named Charlie Cronk. I don't know where his walk of life is now. I hope he's still alive. Excuse me, he's no longer in the area. He was responsible for membership. I'm opening with one person. I got a used desk and 2 stacked chairs and just a couple $1,000s in the bank when I open. And he walks in and walks right in my office and says, first thing you need to do, I heard you're a new company. I heard you just opened. You need to join the chamber. And I'm like, well, how much is it? And I think back then it was like $125. Well, that was a ton of money back then. And he said, why? And I said, why do I need to join the chamber? Even though I knew everybody told me join the chamber. So, excuse me. So he convinced me to join the chamber. Then I decided to get involved in the chamber. And when I learned it's not the chamber's responsibility to get you business, it's the chamber's responsibility to give you the opportunity to build your business. And most people don't understand that, but I took that opportunity. I got involved. I went to the breakfast. I went to the after hours. I went and got involved on the committees and then on the board, and then I became chamber president. So the exposure the chamber gives you the opportunity for is second to none. And the respect that people have, and we have a slogan, and I think it's still there, chamber members do business with chamber members. And that impacted my business a lot. Keep in mind, we could never survive just on our business that we did here in Venice because it was a sleepy little town. But the reputation that we built and the word of mouth spreading that was invaluable. So that's why I would say to anybody, join the chamber, but you've got to get involved. You cannot expect the chamber to give you business. You get the opportunity from the chamber and all they do to build your own business.
Very true. Very true. What was the deciding factor that made you join the chamber?
Well, besides Charlie Cronk making me join the chamber because I felt guilty and I couldn't get him out of my office until then, the deciding factor is I knew the chamber was the organization. I knew the chamber had the best opportunities to give me the opportunity to build by meeting people and spreading the word about what we did. Nobody knew who I was at the time. Sometimes I think it's better now that nobody knows who I was, but that not necessarily is the fact or the case. But the chamber really did do that. And like I said, I think, I know I sound like a Chamber of Commerce guy, but I am a Chamber of Commerce guy because I'm a past president of the Chamber of Commerce. So that's what's important.
That's awesome. Thank you.
Did you think that the Chamber of Commerce, because you said you had heard people tell you about it several times and joining it, had a reputation in town already? And if it did, what was that reputation?
So it's a good question. So if to think about the Chamber of Commerce back then, anybody I talked to, and the Chamber of Commerce was much smaller back then than it is now. But anybody I talked to in town, whether you went out to the restaurant at the Crow's Nest, or you went to Sharky's, or you would hear people mention, if they were business people, about the Chamber of Commerce, okay? And I heard about the Chamber of Commerce when I was just a tourist. I wasn't even here then. So when I came down, though, people would say, oh, you're going to open up your business. You need to join the chamber, okay? Well, you get enough people tell you that, you start listening. But then I thought, well, as soon as I make some money, I'll join the chamber. But then when the membership guy comes in, or if Andrea came in like she would do like Charlie Clark, you join the chamber. And that's what it did. And that was it. So that 125 reduced my 2,000 down a little bit, but we got through it. So it was okay.
Thank you. How do you want to be remembered for you and your business?
Well, for the business, I want the business to be remembered, and it won't be the people, and probably including me, but that we represented the chamber well. We were a good business. We did the right things. We gave back through donations and things that we could afford to do. We got involved with the chamber to help other people. But we were a good company. We were a chamber company, or a company that the chamber would want, because we had the values that the chamber has. I'd like that. How I want to be remembered, people are going to remember you however they want. I guess I would want to be remembered as, he was a good businessman, but he gave back more to the community than he took. And the reason he did is, and I tell this in when I give talks, is the reason is because I wouldn't have found this community unless people that I don't even know who they are or they were had not done the same thing. So that would be the legacy, and I would encourage anybody else to give back more than you take, and that makes it a better place to be. I would also say I'd like to be remembered as a guy that worked really hard, but he played even harder, and that I live up to every day.
I like it. Thank you. If you could pass one piece of advice or wisdom to future generations in Venice, what would it be?
So if I could pass on a piece of advice to the next generation or the current generations living in Venice, and are you referencing it as a business person, or are you referencing it as a personal piece of advice? Both. Business person, and as a business person, I would say the American dream is still alive. You're looking at a person that lived the American dream. I took a chance. I opened up a company. I took all the risks. I passed out some of the rewards. I was blessed to be able to sell the company. I was blessed to have a good 36-year run with the company. I think we made a difference in business. I think that I would say you can live the American dream. You can be successful professionally and personally and give back the same. Personally, I would say, like I just said before, work hard, play harder, enjoy it. Sometimes take a break and walk out on the jetties like I do and smoke a cigar. You don't have to smoke a cigar, but I do. And you got to smell the roses and realize that you're just here for one little speck of time. So make the best. But this community we're so blessed because so many people made it great to be here. I would encourage you, work hard, play harder, but give back more than you take, because nobody's going to remember who you are in the long run after a couple, 3, 4 generations, but somebody's going to be sitting in this chair talking to somebody like you guys and going to be saying the same thing. And if they do, this community will be thriving like it did when I found it and like it is right now.
Such words of wisdom. Thank you. Is there anything that you would like to add that I didn't ask, but that maybe you'd like to share? Open mic.
Open mic. I would just really like to share, we're in really challenging times politically, respect-wise. People don't listen to each other anymore or as much as they used to and stuff. That can all change, but it has to start with us. And I think dialogue is good, and being willing to listen is good, and being able to, importantly, laugh and not take life so seriously, because unfortunately it goes by really, really fast. And when that time comes and you look back, the only person you've got to answer to, the only person, is yourself. So I would encourage everybody to get along, listen, and then don't listen to the news, don't listen to government. You know, I've always said government doesn't build communities. We build communities, people. We build Venice, me, you, everybody involved, the class, leadership of Venice, leadership Sarasota, leadership Manatee. It's the professionals, it's the non-professionals, it's people getting involved. That's who builds communities. And never forget that. Government never builds a community, and government will never build a community. So that would be what I would say. Um, Maybe it's a little passionate, but at this time, I think we need some passion. Okay. That's all I have to say on that.
Did you do any of the leadership programs?
So it's a good question. So I did Leadership Sarasota. I sponsored Leadership Venice, but there was talk about having Leadership Venice during leadership years ago. And I didn't believe Venice was ready for Leadership Venice. I didn't think we were big enough. I thought Leadership Sarasota County, which is what it's called, was really important at the time. It was one of the best things I ever did. It exposed me not only to things in the North County, which is Sarasota County, or the Central County, which people don't know is Venice, or the South County, which is really Northport, okay? And now in all of Welland Park. It exposed me to those areas back then, and that was back in 1990. So that's a ways back. And it was one of the best things I ever did. And I think Leadership Venice is now one of the best things that's happened, and it has evolved that we're big enough now and it's important. But what it also did is it made me aware that we can't be parochial. We need to be regional thinking. What's best for the region, and when I talk about that, I talk about from south of St. Pete down to the end of Northport. That's the region I'm talking about. That's a big region. And what's good for one is good for us all, because people are mobile and they come down. And I see it every day. Okay. So those leadership classes was great. Um, those two. I'm also was involved at the time on the board of the Sarasota Chamber. So I really got exposure. I chose to do that because I wanted to have those connections all over, as well as make a difference all over.
Excellent. And I know you said you sponsored Leadership Venice. Do you sponsor any other events or programs through the Venice Chamber of Commerce that you want to highlight?
So nothing I really want to highlight. It's, saying no to the Chamber of Commerce is like saying no, may she rest in peace, to my mother. You just don't do it. When they ask you if you can do it in the time or other programs that you can give back, then you do it. But again, that's me personally. And again, it goes back to what I said. I'd rather give more than I've ever taken. And I will continue to do that the rest of my life. So wherever I am.
Thank you so much, CJ. Those are my extra questions that I wanted to throw
Well,
in
it's
there,
my
so I
pleasure.
appreciate it.
Well, we thank you for joining us today. Thank you for your time.